This is a wishing well located in Rustboro City. If you throw a wishing star down the well, you'll receive a Pokemon in return. Now I know what you might be saying. Wait, there isn't a wishing well in Pokemon Emerald? You're correct, but this isn't your usual Pokemon Emerald. This is Emerald Seaglass, a ROM hack by Nemo622 that adds stunning new visuals and a plethora of gameplay improvements to the GBA classic. You might also be asking, where are all these wishing well Pokemon coming from? I don't know, I can't answer that one. But I can tell you that I'll be attempting a Nuzlocke challenge where if a Pokemon faints, they are considered dead forever. And I'm only allowed to use Pokemon obtained from the well. This means every wishing star I find in the wild is a chance to receive something spectacular, something terrible, and everything in between. It's a gamble, and fortunately for me, I like testing my luck. Now, the run doesn't officially start until I drop my first wishing star down the well, so I blaze past the irrelevant early portion of the game until I arrive at Rustboro City, and more importantly, the wishing well. Thus marks the beginning of run number 3. Yeah, so on attempt 1, I got served a plate of doo-doo feces by the wishing well and had no answers for Brawly's Heracross. Yes, I said Heracross. On attempt 2, I failed to properly manage the stringent mid-game level cap and wiped in a double battle at Fortree Gym with the suboptimal team. But you know what they say, third time's the charm. A wishing star is lying in the grass beside the well, which we can use to summon our first team member. Come forth, Reinhardt the Duskull. Not a bad first pull. He won't be doing much damage, but an early ghost type will come in handy against Brawly. That's not all though, because we can borrow 5 more wishing stars from a nearby girl to shove down the well. Come forth, Rover the Hoot Hoot, Nero the Seedot, Dorothy the Cleffa, Uden the Mawile, and Pekkarin the Bellsprout. An excellent haul. We got checks for Roxanne and Brawly, plus a small pink creature that can be our new team mascot. The dubious creature seems to have taken a liking to us because she evolves into Clefairy surprisingly quickly. Nero also evolves into Nuzleaf before the level cap of 15. But about that. Emerald Seaglass has several difficulty modifiers. The first is a soft level cap that causes EXP gains beyond the cap to be diminished. The second is hard mode, which simply raises enemy trainers' levels and prevents the use of healing items in battle. I enabled both modifiers by interacting with the book in my room, which is undeniable proof that reading books makes your life harder. Don't read ever. But here's the thing, the level caps are based on normal mode. So while normal mode Roxanne has a level 15 nose pass that matches the level cap, hard mode Roxanne has a level 16 nose pass while we're still stuck with a level cap of 15. Throw in reworked teams for each gym leader, and you have a recipe for a meteor challenge in theory. In practice, Roxanne was not prepared for me to roll up to her gym with a 390 BST steel type with an intimidating aura. Uden the Mawile can take down both Anorith and Lily with 2 Metal Claws each, soaking up minimal damage in the process. His speed did drop by 3 stages from the various bubbles and rock tombs he took, but Mawile is such a naturally slow Pokemon that it doesn't really matter. That just leaves Roxanne's nose pass. Uden has done an exceptional job this fight, but it's time for him to bow out and let his teammates finish the job. Uh-oh. I thought Roxanne's nose pass would still have sturdy like in Vanilla Emerald, but no. It's got magnet pull. That means Uden now gets to go 1-on-1 with the Rock. Big Nose begins the standoff by going for Harden, but Uden's taunt ensures that we see less of that crap and more tough guys trading blows. Rock 2, Metal Claw, Rock 2, Metal Claw, Rock 2, Fairy Wind, Rock 2, Metal Claw. The transcript of this fight looks like the definition of insanity. But after bashing in each other's skulls for several turns, things are finally coming to a head. Both Uden and Nosepass have already consumed their held Oran berries, and each stands just 2 to 3 hits away from going down. A single critical hit could turn the tides of this battle. Uden proves that Steel does beat Rock, landing a critical hit that finally topples Nosepass. We earned the first gym badge, and Uden earns a title belt. I'm not even gonna try to determine the weight class though. What I am curious about is why Roxanne didn't heal Nosepass at any point during that one-on-one. Even a single potion would have swung the battle in her favor. I heard that Emerald Seaglass's trainer AI prioritizes KOs over healing, but that still doesn't paint the full picture. If any of you watching can explain the enemy AI's drought of healing items, please tell me in the comments. And if you cannot explain, please find someone in the comments who can and call them a huge nerd. We pick up another wishing star in Rust Turf Tunnel, which means paying a visit to old Wishing Well again. I promised myself I wouldn't make any corny well puns in this Nuzlocke, but I'm really struggling here. Come forth, Herda the Bagon. She won't be able to contribute much right now, so we're gonna lock Herda away in an ivory tower where she can study up and wait for the level cap to increase. As for our current level cap, it's a pretty unfortunate one. Level 19 means Rover won't be able to evolve into Noctowl before we fight Brawly, which is a massive bummer because Noctowl is a ghost flying type in Emerald Seaglass. It would have been the perfect Brawly counter, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. No time to sulk though, because we gotta face May for the first time before we can catch a boat. Technically the second time, but that didn't count, shut up. May's Skiploom sprinkles some poisonous powder onto Rover, whose retaliatory peck can't even bring Skiploom to half. 2 more pecks are needed before Rover can finally secure the KO, but he's taking so much damage from tackles and poison that he has to tag out once Torchic hits the field. I decide to bring in Reinhardt, but he takes a good chunk of damage from Ember on the switch in. Oh, by the way, May's Torchic has speed boost. Another Ember brings Reinhardt into dangerous territory, but a well-timed disable ensures no further fire type attacks for the time being. This gives Hoenn an easy switch in, and Intimidate lowers the damage of Torchic's peck to pitiful levels. The two then trade pecks and bites for consecutive turns until disable wears off. Torchic can finally fire off a super effective Ember, but it's too little too late. One more bite from Hoenn seals the battle and stamps it for delivery. Speaking of delivery, here's your food, Mr. Stone. While we were stumbling around in the dark delivering the goods to Steven, we also received 4 more wishing stars from an old guy and found a 5th on the cave floor. You know what that means. Don't cry, little whale. Uncle Toad's got enough wishing stars to feed you your entire life. Come forth, Whitebeard the Absol, Aqua the Lickitung, W the Dinkata, Don Quixote the Murkrow, and Tom Nook the Drowsy. Yes, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp counts as a gacha game. Sleepy Tom here is also the only pull from this batch that will provide any sort of value in our fight against Brawly, but that's fine because we already got the personnel ready to stomp out that white boy. Tom Nook opens the battle with a powerful confusion that procs Makuhita's held Citrus Berry. Brawly's lead Pokemon wastes his time using Bulk Up, allowing Tom to pick up the KO on the following turn. In comes that dastardly Heracross, which means it's time for us to bring in the Doro, who easily shrugs off a backhanded slap. Now, while I'm not sure exactly why Emerald Seaglass's AI refuses to heal, I do know from my previous experience that the AI loves to click setup moves. That's why every time Heracross uses Bulk Up, Dorothy uses Charm in response. After 6 turns of this back and forth, the Horned Beetle sits at -6 attack, and the AI won't bother to use any more Bulk Ups to remedy that since Heracross's defense is maxed out. That means we can switch to Pecorin on a 5-hit Bullet Seed that does 1 damage per hit. Heracross's knockoff also does next to nothing, and Pecorin's Poison Powder connects, putting the bug on a timer. It is at this point that we can initiate Operation Bully Heracross. We first bring in Hoenn to resist knockoff, and now Heracross sees Arm Thrust as the best option to deal damage. This lets Reinhardt switch in scot-free thanks to his fighting type immunity. Now Heracross sees an opportunity to go for a super effective knockoff, but we just bring Hoenn back in to sponge the hit. We repeat this process 4 more times over an 8-turn span, during which Heracross wails about helplessly until it eventually succumbs to poison damage. We could have hit Hera once or twice here to speed up the process, but the visual of Hoenn and Reinhardt taking turns aura farming over the slowly dying carcass of Heracross is far more amusing. Reinhardt is already on the field when Metatite joins the fray, which is perfect because Metatite has no way to deal damage to our ghostly friend here. 3 turns, 2 Nightshades, and a Shadow Sneak later, badge number 2 is ours. We're now off to... Not now, Elliot. We're now off to Slateport where... Is that a wishing star? Please welcome Theresa the Shuckle to the team. Anyways, we're now in Slateport, so we can... Elliot, can you not? Rover evolves into Noctowl after beating up a bunch of beachgoers, while Pecorin evolves into Weepinbell after making an example of Team Aqua at the museum. Anyway, time to smack around May again. Pecorin leads off against Manatite, getting off a strong Vine Whip before taking a confused Ray to the face. Fortunately, she's able to wave away the confusion and finish off Manatite with a second Vine Whip. In comes Combuskin, which means out goes Pecorin. I didn't bring Theresa the Shuckle to this fight, so we're pretty lacking in terms of switch-ins who can tank physical fire type attacks. Ultimately, I decide to bring Dorothy in, who loses about 1/3 of her HP from Flame Charge. I keep Dorothy out to eat a second Flame Charge so she can get off a charm to make the next switch in a bit more comfortable. Rover takes the field next, and due to Combuskin being at -2 attack, Flame Charge does a measly 12 damage. This battle is now essentially over. Rover can fire off back-to-back extra sensories to take down Combuskin, then stonewall May's Lombre, who only has Mega Drain for damage. Victory is once again ours thanks to the efforts parts of our quirky cast of characters. I should mention now that team members are going to be rotating in and out of the roster a lot this run. Make sure to periodically check on the roster display because I'm not going to always explicitly say who's getting switched out for who. For example, you might have noticed that I inserted Whitebeard the Absol into our team. Don't worry if you missed it though, because Whitebeard died to a first headbutt and now we gotta carry his corpse around. Now is also a good time to mention something else that's very important, that you should like and subscribe and follow me. Okay, but seriously, during my research for this run, I couldn't find any definitive lists for wishing star locations. I had to cobble together one myself based on other people's videos and testimonials. I'm telling you this because Route 110 had not one but two surprises for me in the form of hidden wishing stars. There might even be more, I don't know. This is my least favorite route in all of Hoenn and I'd rather spend time in Antarctica than here. Add in another star on Route 111 and 3 more given to me by a guy in Verdant Turf with a sweet hat, and we've got another batch of party members to get. Come forth, Silas the Houndour, Niki the Apom, Pot of Greed the Sableye, Belfast the Shelder, Bernice the Vulpix, and Suomi the Alolan Sandshrew. That's right, we got Alolan forms in this game. Overall, this looks like a much better batch than the last. Bernice, Suomi, and Belfast will be investments for later, and Silas can evolve right at the level cap of 24. Even better, he gets Nasty Plot upon evolving into Houndoom. This makes Silas the perfect answer against the electric type gym leader Watson. The old geezer opens the fight with Volbeat, who has gained the electric type in Emerald Seaglass. Unfortunately for it, it has not gained any more special attack, meaning its shockwaves are coming off a base 47 special attack. It should come as no surprise that Silas can easily shrug off these hits, boosting himself to +6 special attack and proceeding to annihilate Volbeat with a single Ember. Manectric hits the field next, but foolishly wastes a turn using Howl, gifting Silas a free Ember opportunity, which manages to trigger Manectric's held Citrus Berry. The electric doggo uses Thunder Wave the following turn, but Silas's Cherry Berry cures the paralysis, meaning our fiery doggo is free to roast Manectric for good this time. Magneton and Flaffy go down to a single Ember each, meaning that Silas has officially swept the third gym for us. W evolves into Ninjask, but it is her shell of a husk that joins the team. I don't know enough about Arknight's lore to come up with a better name though. What I do know is that we have to drag ourselves up to Falarbur Town right now. This normally tedious leg of the journey is soothed somewhat by the acquisition of 3 more wishing stars. Oh, by the way, Professor Elm shows up in Falarbur Town. He's not relevant whatsoever, but I thought it was worth a mention. Anyway, the detour to Meteor Falls is perfect as it gives us a direct pipeline back to the wishing well for us to... I wonder who that's for. Come forth, Maki the Snubbull, Yukina the Cacnea, and Beatrix the Zangoose. A smaller haul than we're used to, but one of the best we've gotten so far. For all the Grand Blue Fantasy fans wondering why I went with Beatrix for their game's representation, the actual Beatrix digs a cake out of her cake in her Versus Rising Victory animation, and that shit is so goofy that she deserves to be immortalized in a meaningless Pokemon Nuzlocke video. Anyway, Tom Nook evolves into Hypno and becomes a Psychic Dark type. Then Maki evolves into Grand Bull and becomes a Fairy Fighting type with access to Rage Fist. Emerald Seaglass's changes are wild and things will only get crazier once we get access to hidden abilities. For now though, it's time for us to take on our next challenge, the Fire type gym leader Flannery. No, I did not forget about Maxie on Mount Chimney, we just stomped him so bad that it's not worth mentioning. But as I was saying, it's Flannery time. Our lone water type available right now is Belfast the Shelder, who will get cooked and served on a silver platter if we let her take even a single overheat. Also, I want her to learn Razor Shell at level 32, so Belfast will be sitting out the Flannery fight. Instead, it's Theresa the Shuckle finally making her debut. Flannery Slugma outspeeds and sets up Sunny Day, but that is exactly what I was hoping for because Theresa can now use Encore to lock Shuckle into using Sunny Day over and over and over again. During these 3 turns in Encore, Beatrix enters the fight safely and gets off 2 Hoenn Claws without repercussion. The moment Encore ends, so does Slugma's life with a single slash. In comes Torkoal, who arrives just in time for the sun to peter out, and since the AI will always prioritize setting up over throwing out a big hit, this means that instead of firing off a powerful overheat, Torkoal clicks Sunny Day. Congratulations on rearranging deck chairs aboard the Titanic, Torkoal. This lets us go for a 3rd Hoenn Claws to give Beatrix enough damage for a single slash to tear the tortoise apart. Now is a good time to mention that Beatrix is holding a Silk Scarf and has the Sharpness ability to boost the power of moves like Slash substantially. Oh, and Zangoose got buffed to base 125 attack attack and 100 speed in Emerald Seaglass. So yeah, Beatrix is a monster right now. She proves this by ripping through Flareon and Camerupt to secure us the 4th gym badge. But now we have a dilemma on our hands. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else watching, we have a gambling problem. No, I mean like something is preventing us from gambling freely. From this point on, we will not be finding any more wishing stars in the wild, that I know of. And in case you forgot, finding wishing stars is kinda the whole gimmick of this Nuzlocke. There is a woman on Mount Chimney who can sell us wishing stars for 1,500 Pokédollars a pop, but I don't really want to pull a Dodgers and just buy myself a top flight team. That's why I'd like to propose a brand new amendment to the rules. From the 4th gym onward, I will be allowed to purchase 1 wishing star after each gym badge. Not only will this serve as an extra reward for progressing through the game, but it will ensure that I still have a way to acquire new team members and feed my worldly desires. That's the new rule and I'm gonna stick with it. I just hope the wishing well won't be too upset that we'll be seeing it a lot less now. As I said, we're counting badge number 4 in this new stipulation, which means it's time to add a new cast member. Come forth, Traveler the Hoppip. Did I say cast member? I meant benchwarmer. Also, I bought a leaf stone to evolve Pekkarin into Victory Bell. Yippee! We soon arrive in Petalburg City, which means I can finally talk about Beavis and Butthead over here. These two sell a wide variety of useful items, and their selection grows after each earned gym badge. With 4 badges in hand, we can now purchase heart scales, ability capsules, and ability patches. Throw in purchasable nature mints from the flower shop, and we can basically customize every member of our team to our liking. The ability changing items lets us give adaptability to Pekkarin and gorilla tactics to Maki. That is not a gorilla. Time to fight our dad. Maki leads off against Norman Spinda, who opens the battle with Teeter Dance. Fortunately, Maki's held Personberry cures the confusion, allowing her to connect with Power Up Punch. But she just barely misses out on the KO. This lets Spinda use Teeter Dance again to confuse Maki a second time. We could switch out here, but we have the HP to risk a self-hit. Plus, I want to see if Maki can handle the job herself. And handle it she does. Our muse proves her prowess by knocking out Spinda, inviting in Slacking, a normally daunting foe made trivial because Emerald Seaglass's Pokemarts start carrying Protect TMs after the 4th gym badge. As a result, anytime Slacking tries to attack, Beatrix can just use Protect, and anytime Slacking is loafing around due to Truant, Beatrix can get off a free Hoenn Claws. After 7 turns of Protect and 6 turns of Hoenn Claws, Beatrix is ready to sweep through the leader for the 2nd gym in a row. Down goes Slacking, Politoed, and Vigoroth one by one, earning us a relaxing 5th gym badge. While Beatrix celebrates her sweet dub with some sweets, we swing back over to the wishing well for our next encounter. I'm sensing some hostility here. Come forth, Psyduck! I wanted to name this guy after someone from the solo leveling gacha, but Hot Dog Taco Hamburger doesn't fit, so we'll just have to settle with this. On the way to the Weather Institute, tragedy strikes as we experience our 2nd death. Nikki the Apom gets brutalized by an Absol Night Slash. Poor thing. She deserves a burial befitting of her importance to our team. Team Aqua has taken over the Weather Institute, making this the perfect time for us to deploy the W. 2. Shedinja completely stonewalls Ludicolo, forcing Shelly to switch to Mightyena. I already anticipated this, however, meaning Pekkarin can hit the field at the same time Mightyena does. 2 Sludge Bombs are all that is needed to send the dog upstate, and Pekkarin can stay in to finish off Ludicolo as well in what ended up being a very easy fight. Before we take on May again, it's finally time for a longtime member of the rotating cast to get her flowers. Belfast learns Razor Shell and is finally allowed to evolve into Cloyster. We also swing by the move relearner in Full Arbor to give her Shell Smash, making Belfast the crux of our strategy for May fight number 3. Or number 4, technically. Whatever, numbers are hard. Just like with Shelly, W2 completely blanks May's lead Mantine, which is why I expected her to immediately switch out. But instead, Mantine goes for a completely useless Water Pulse. I have no idea why the AI decided to waste a turn like that. Maybe it has something to do with the persistent rain in this battle? I don't know. The machinations of the AI's mind are an enigma. May finally switches on the following turn, letting her Combuskin take a soft Shadow Sneak. Speaking of soft, the rain significantly weakens Combuskin's Flame Charge, and against Belfast's Sky High defense, the result is a whopping 9 damage to our Mollusk on the switch-in even after a crit. Combuskin goes for Bulk Up next, since it needs some extra firepower to break through Belfast. Unfortunately for May, she just lost the battle with this play. because it let Belfast get off a free shell smash. She proceeds to one-shot Combuskin the following turn, then smear the rest of May's team like butter on my morning toast. All hail Belfast, queen of the icy spear. Non-believers will be converted in due time because this ain't gonna be the last time Belfast rampages through an entire team. Anyway, I have a bone to pick with Emerald Seaglass's rendition of Fortree City. Taking the tree houses and putting them on the ground sapped all the aura out of this place. This isn't Fortree anymore, this is a Minecraft green top village. On a different note, as someone still getting used to using level caps in their Nuzlocks, the mid-game stretch in Emerald Seaglass is pretty rough. The caps between badge number 4 and badge number 6 are quite stringent, and I swear this game has increased EXP gains because I found myself constantly switching out team members to avoid leveling them past the cap. Add in stronger trainer battles and you can see why I wiped in my second attempt. Fortunately, I was better prepared this time and managed to reach Winona without major issue. Multiple goofuses evolved on the way here, giving us a varied assortment of mons to choose from. Belfast will obviously be joining the fight against Winona, and I ultimately decided to take a second ice type in Suomi as well. I also chose to bring Theresa for her utility, Hoenn for intimidate, and Bernice to handle Skarmory. For the final spot, I'll be going with Rover. He's remained a core team member since the beginning and has put in a lot of work against the generic trainers. Plus, we picked up a wide lens that Rover can use to boost the accuracy of his hypnosis from 60% to 66%. That boost may seem minuscule, but as a pro gambler, I can confidently tell you that bigger numbers are better. Alright, enough stalling. Time to take flight and take on Winona. Two birds take the field, but while Fearow charges in with Aerial Ace, Rover gets up a Reflect that'll soften incoming physical hits, including another Aerial Ace that is healed off by Rover's Citrus Berry. He then successfully puts Fearow to sleep, giving Belfast a safe switch in. Fearow does wake up the following turn, but fortunately outspeeds to land a very soft drill run. I say fortunately because it means Belfast can get off a shell smash without suffering the consequences of her now lowered defenses. She can instead reap the benefits of her boosted attack and speed to fire off 2 icy spears to ground Fearow for good. Our Reflect wears off, but it doesn't matter because 5 icy spears are enough to down Pelipper before it can even blink. Next on the chopping block is Skarmory, who somehow outspeeds us to land a flying jump boosted Aerial Ace. That tickles. On the contrary, 5 icy spears manage to bring Skarm down into the red. Belfast is the one who gets to jump the next turn, finishing off the metal bird. I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say that gem boosted attacks have priority in Emerald Seaglass, which would explain why Skarm could outspeed a shell smash boosted Cloyster one turn but not the next. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Tropius's thick fat can't keep Belfast at bay, and Altaria gets dropped as well. Belfast claims another victory for the glory of Icy Spear, and we claim badge number 6. Another badge, another wish. Okay, listen, wishing well, I know we've had our differences, but I'd really appreciate it if you gave me something useful for our upcoming battle against the Psychic type gym. Mankey? On the one hand, Annihilate is in this game, but on the other hand, it still gets rocked by psychic attacks, and in the double battle, it will just get targeted. Sorry Goku, you're spending your days in the hyperbolic time chamber known as the bench. As for us, we're busy raiding Team Magma's hideout. I'd love to say that this event and the maxi fight that bookended it were exhilarating, but they weren't. Managing the level cap meant dodging unnecessary trainers, and Belfast once again claimed another victim as she swept through Maxi's entire team with ease. After cleansing Mount Pyre of the Aqua infestation, we're off to Lily Cove City to appreciate some fine art and the fact that Team Aqua's fleet of Wyrmer actually have sprites now. We also got one more May fight to deal with. I've become a bit too dependent on Belfast, so for the sake of sobering up a bit, I'm laying off the bivalve and using an Aura Farmer instead, who has evolved into Golduck and taken on the Water Psychic typing. However, it's Bernice the Ninetails who leads off this battle against May's Tropius. Flamethrower misses out on the 1-hit KO by a micro hair, but Tropius's air slash is no big deal as Bernice finishes the roast the following turn. Ludicolo enters the fray next, and expecting a water type move, I switch into Aura Farmer. But instead of a blast of water, he takes a super effective knockoff to the face that causes him to drop his Mystic Water and over half his HP. Fortunately, my next prediction of a Ludicolo Energy Ball proves correct, meaning Rover can hit the field with minimal damage taken. An air slash the following turn brings Ludicolo below half, and the flinch ensures Rover can stay healthy to finish off Ludicolo with a second air slash. Blaziken drops in, but Rover outspeeds and nails it with a powerful air slash. He then proves that his spirit is unbreakable and finishes off Blaziken the following turn, allowing May's final Pokemon to enter the fray. This Pelipper is actually a filthy stockpile swallow spit up user, which means we can bring in Pekkarin to put the bird on the timer with Toxic, then switch to W2, who is completely immune to Pelipper's shenanigans. The poison damage eventually overcomes the healing from Swallow, meaning Pelipper has fallen and so has May for the final time. With the department store gatekeeper handled, we can finally go shopping, witness one of the employees using witchcraft to check my lottery ticket number, and begin our raid of Team Aqua's hideout. Emerald Seaglass added a lot of new coverage moves for each Pokemon, which of course also applies to enemy trainers. I learned this the hard way when an Aqua Grunt Glalie demonstrated its newly gained Rock Slide on W2, sending it to the grave. As unfortunate as it is losing a Shedinja, I'm just glad that W2 managed to put in a ton of work before it bit the dust. Rest easy, buddy. I'll probably get one of your relatives killed again in the future, Nuzlocke. Although Aqua admin Matt is a nothing burger, the swimmers on the way to Moss Deep pose a greater threat than anticipated, mainly because of this Octillery. You see, Octillery is a water-fire type in Emerald Seaglass, and Octazooka has become a dual water-fire type attack as well. That being said, I'm banking on Nero surviving the attack and handling Octillery himself. Leaf Blade does less than expected, but of course I let my guard down and lose Nero to an attack that Octillery already had in the base game. My B, Nero. Your death will serve as a harsh reminder that I gotta keep myself locked in, especially with the double battle against Tate and Liza coming up. They have a similar team to their already formidable squad from base Emerald, but Xatu has been replaced with a ghost fairy type Mismagius instead, so the twins are actually even more dangerous now. Fortunately, if there's one thing this team ain't lacking, it's psychic checks. Not only do we have a rogues gallery of ghost and dark type mons, but a ton of dark type moves at our disposal too. We can also finally evolve Reinhardt into Dusclops and alleviate our team's grass dark type shaped hole by evolving Yukina into Cacturn. All these sinister tools at our disposal, just for me to use Belfast again anyway. Not only because Belfast's stab combo hits the secondary types of Tate and Liza's Pokemon super effectively, but because we got the perfect partner to pair with our Mollusk. That's right, after being banished to the box way back when, we can once again unleash the Doro. Dorothy gets Follow Me to redirect attacks and can supplement her bulk with an Eviolite that we purchased from Beavis and Butthead back in Petalburg. Finally, her hidden ability Friend Guard will ensure Belfast won't immediately fold to special hits. Only Clefairy gets this ability, not Clefable, which is why I've yet to evolve our marketable pink creature. Thus, with Belfast, Dorothy, and a cavalcade of ghosts and goblins at the ready, we can march into Moss Deep Gym and begin our double battle against the twin psychic specialists. They lead off with Claydol and Mismagius, the latter of which threatens Belfast with a super effective Magical Leaf, but maybe Mismagius doesn't have enough damage for the one shot, or the Emerald Seaglass AI is just too darn greedy, because instead of going for a damaging move, Mismagius sets up with Calm Mind. Belfast also sets up with Shell Smash, and after taking a chunk of damage from Claydol's Earthquake, Dorothy encores Mismagius to lock it into using Calm Mind for the foreseeable future. Belfast gets off a second Shell Smash, and her defenses are low enough now that Claydol sees Ancient Power as the optimal play. However, Follow Me redirects the attack to Dorothy, who can shrug off the barrage of boulders handily. At +4 attack and speed, Belfast is now prepared to take over yet another battle. Through the power of Icy Spears, she downs Claydol while Dorothy fortifies her defenses with Cosmic Power, and Mismagius continues to be trapped in the Encore dimension. Repeat those same events the following turn, but with Soul Rock falling to Razor Shell instead. Mismagius is finally freed from Encore, only to take a couple of Icy Spears to the face and go down. Dorothy uses Follow Me to redirect Lunatone's Psychic over to her, and with one final Razor Shell, Belfast once again leads us to victory, this time with some much appreciated help. Speaking of help, this run wouldn't have been possible without you, old wishing well. I sincerely apologize for putting you through the ringer earlier. Now that we've settled our differences, why don't we shake on it? Oh right, whales don't have hands. But you know what they do have? Mario the Lotad. He'll definitely be putting in some work against Juan. For now though, we need to confront Team Magma at the Moss Deep Space Center. The upcoming fight against Maxi is a 6v6 double battle, featuring some formidable foes with freakish movesets, like Like seriously, what the hell is a floaty fall? Is that a Minecraft enchantment? Fortunately, I have the power of documentation on my side. I've crafted the most perfectly balanced team possible in order to take on this terrifying threat. It's Belfast again. I'm just gonna use Belfast again. In fact, I'll be leading off with the same duo who wiped the floor with Tate and Liza. But Dorothy won't be staying out for long, as I immediately switch to Rover to resist what I assume will be Venoshock for Crobat. My prediction is dead wrong, as Crobat instead targets Belfast. If there's a silver lining to this misprediction, it's that Belfast tanks the hit at neutral defenses before she soon drops said defenses with Shell Smash. Also, Gliscor misses Drill Run like a loser. Wait, Drill Run? The documentation does not mention that move whatsoever. In fact, it says Gligar here instead of Gliscor, so I guess I've been referencing a normal mode spreadsheet this entire time? Oops. Though uncertainty looms, one thing remains consistent. Belfast's Icy Spears always find their mark, as demonstrated with Crobat. Meanwhile, Rover puts Gliscor to sleep with Hypnosis. Belfast's rampage is momentarily halted when she flinches from Shiftry's fake out, although Rover is free to take a shot on Gliscor as it continues to slumber. We then get a 2-for-1 on the following turn as Belfast knocks out Shiftry and Rover finishes off Gliscor with Hex. That invites in Dodrio and Ursaluna, the former of which immediately gets mauled by Belfast's third Icy Spear barrage of the fight, while the latter gets tucked into bed by Rover. Maxie sends out his final Pokemon, but Camerupt gets obliterated by Belfast in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Rover connects with Air Slash on Ursaluna, who wakes up only to be flinched. That gives Belfast a clear path to victory as one last secures us a much more relaxing win than initially anticipated. Our next stop now is Hootopolis City. Wait, pinball? Oh, sweet, I won an ability capsule. Oh, wait, didn't I have something important to do? Oh, right, the Nuzlocke thing. Right. Hootopolis City. I make a pit stop here in order to register the Pokemon Center for Fly, then swing by the gym since the doors seem to be open. That door is not closed. What do you mean? Deep down below the sea, we plow through hordes of Team Aqua goons, earning enough EXP to evolve Mario into Lombre, before exposing him to a shiny blue rock to evolve him into Ludicolo. We then confront Archie at the deepest depths of Seafloor Cavern and dunk on him, awakening Kyogre, and starting global warming, and Groudon is Jesus apparently, and we climb Sky Pillar to ask Rayquaza. Why do his eyes look like that? Durr. Rayquaza does its thing, and the world is saved. Woohoo! Alright, time for the gym battle. Without any electric types on our team, we're gonna have to rely on grass types, hype moments, and aura to overcome Juan. I switch up a few abilities and items on the team, the most crucial of which was giving Yukina her hidden ability, Water Absorb. That's gonna come in handy against Juan's lead Pokemon, Starmie. Despite packing 4 attacking moves, Starmie can't hit Yukina with half of them, forcing it to resort to Power Gem. Yukina, meanwhile, can obliterate the Sea Star with a single Giga Drain. Kingdra comes out next and sees Ice Beam, so I swap to Belfast on the Ice Gem boosted attack, which does 33 total damage. I'm not sure whether Kingdra is gonna go for Water Pulse or Double Team here, but either way, Belfast doesn't have the damage to threaten Kingdra. So I swap again to Yukina, which turns out to be the right play as she slurps up the incoming Water Pulse like a refreshing beverage. I swap once more, this time into Maki on an Ice Beam, which thankfully doesn't freeze. And thanks to her held choice scarf, Maki can outrun Kingdra and break its spirit to get the Seahorse out of the picture. Whiscash dives into battle next and is followed by our very own Mario in his first noteworthy action this run. Whiscash sets up the rain, which is very much appreciated by Mario thanks to his Swift Swim ability. To show his appreciation, he one-shots Whiscash with Giga Drain. Now it's Octillery's turn to make something happen, which ends up being a 4-hit Bullet Seed that puts more pressure on Mario than I'd like. That's why I swapped to Yukina again, expecting another round of Bullet Seeds. Oh no, it's Aura Sphere! But Yukina hangs on with 4 HP. Phew. We can't let her miraculous survival go to waste, so Yukina tags out for Rover, who is immune to the next Aura Sphere that comes our way. The ever-reliable Hypnosis Merchant then proceeds to do what he does best, making Octillery go honk shoe me. Rover follows up with a boosted Hex that does enough damage to trigger Octillery's held Citrus Berry, and the octopus remains fast asleep, meaning Rover can finish it off the following turn. That just leaves Celio as Juan's last Pokemon standing. I decide to keep Rover in because even if he misses Hypnosis here, he has the bulk to survive at least one Aurora Beat. The calculated risk seems to work as Celio is put to sleep, but when I bring in Maki to finish the job, Celio awakens and launches one last desperation heave. That comes up way short. With one final Drain Punch, Maki sends Celio packing and earns us the final gym badge. Hello, wishing well. This'll be the last time I ever come to you for a new encounter. Thank you for all you've done this run, buddy. Here's to one last great addition to our team. Come forth, Voltorb! A bit of a late arrival, but it might still come in handy against Glacia and Wallace. You will henceforth be known as the strongest entity in Pokemon TCG Pocket. With our last team member acquired, we can make our way to our final destination, the pinnacle of Pokemon itself, Wait, I don't have the Waterfall HM yet? Doesn't Wallace give it to me after I do the whole world-saving thing? What? There is a brand new diving minigame in Pacific Log Town. It's basically the Safari Zone, but underwater and with slightly different rules. And do you remember in my previous video when I said I hated catching Pokemon? Yeah, we are forced to capture a Pokemon here, violating our sacred rule. But this Mantag I got could just be released later anyways, who cares? Oh wait, I won? I just caught the first thing I saw and swam around until time was up. Awesome, what's my reward?
$7?
Oh, we also get HM07 Waterfall as a participation prize, meaning we can finally enter Victory Road and crack our knuckles because it's time to bully Wally. He's got almost the exact same team as his vanilla Emerald squad, but with additional evolutions and slightly better movesets, beginning with a Dragon Dancing Altaria. Fortunately, that gives Maki a clean one-hit KO with Play Rough thanks to her held Choice Band. Guerrilla Tactics is a very good ability in case you haven't figured it out yet. Gardevoir comes out next, and despite threatening Maki with a super effective Psychic, opts to go for the more powerful but delayed Future Sight instead. And despite resisting the attack, Gardevoir is so physically frail that it still goes down in one hit. Next up is Roserade, who also threatens Maki with a super effective attack, but say it with me everyone, Emerald Seaglass's AI loves to click status moves. That's why Roserade instead goes for Leech Seed, allowing Maki to hit her third Play Rough in a row, which narrowly misses out on a third consecutive one-shot. Unfortunately, the Maki show ends here, because Future Sight is coming next turn, so I switch to Yukina. And while she's immune to that attack, she gets hit by Toxic on the way in. A Sucker Punch the following turn ends Roserade's relevance to this fight, forcing Magnezone into battle. Maggie here doesn't threaten Yukina whatsoever, so we let our Cactus companion stay out one more turn to get up Leech Seed, which she does after Magnezone misses Supersonic. Now it's time to play the switching game. I swap between Rover and Yukina, baiting Thunderbolts and Supersonics, all the while Leech Seed continues to chip down Magnezone's health. Eventually, I toss out Bernice, who does get hit by Supersonic, but is able to work through it, finishing off Magnezone with a single flamethrower. Admittedly, I could have thrown Bernice out earlier and gotten the same result, but we're not here to play perfectly, we're here to crush Wally's dreams. His last Pokemon is Delcatty, who misses Sing twice in a row, allowing Maki to re-enter the fight safely and quiet the cat with one last decisive Drain Punch. Dreams successfully crushed. We can now set our eyes on the Pokemon League. You'd think that with the massive roster of Pokemon we've employed throughout this run, that I'd have trouble deciding on the final squad for the Elite Four. But no, it wasn't really hard at all. This final squad consists of multiple standouts who've made their mark consistently over the course of this entire run, whether against generic trainers or the most important of battles. Let's meet them all again, shall we? Beatrix the Zangoose headlines this squad of 6, still possessing the same power, speed, and setup threat that allowed her to maul through Flannery and Norman. I ultimately decided to keep Sharpness as her ability instead of using Toxic Boost, since I prefer my cake munching kitty to not be slowly dying during her sweeps. Dorothy, the team mascot, has finally been allowed to evolve into Clefable. Her ability is Magic Guard and her moveset includes Encore, basically her signature move this run. Maki the Grand Bull might be the most perfectly engineered answer to Hoenn's Elite Four. Her Fairy Fighting Stab combination allows her to rip through Sydney, Glacia, and Drake, plus she even has additional coverage ready for Phoebe and Wallace too. Throw in her choice of choice items and you've got one super idol. Belfast the Cloister. What else is there to say about her? Actually, she doesn't match up very well against most of the Elite Four and the champion, so she'll be serving a defensive role most of the time, except against Drake. Mario! The Ludicolo may have joined the roster late, but he's slated to be our answer to Wallace. I ultimately chose him over Yukina because nearly all of Wallace's Pokemon pack Ice-type moves, which Mario can handle better. Also, it's super freaking Mario, of course I gotta bring him along. And for our final team member, it's time to cash cash in on an investment from way back at the start of the run. After sitting pretty in her ivory tower, Herta has finally descended to decimate everything in her path as a Salamence. Intimidate and a deep move pool are just some of what the Prodigious Super Genius can offer us, or is willing to offer us mere mortals. That's our team of 6 that we'll be bringing into the Elite Four. But if you were to watch our fight against Sydney, you'd think it was a 1v5 because Maki ran his pockets. With a choice scarf around her neck, Maki used Play Rough 5 times and got 5 KOs, single-handedly sweeping the dark type specialist without breaking a sweat. That brings Phoebe up next, and okay, let me clarify something. For my entire life, I pronounced her name as Phoebe, like phobia, because she's a ghost type trainer and all, but after receiving several comments refuting this, I decided to check an official piece of Pokemon media to determine the real pronunciation. For the record, I do know Phoebe is an actual name, but I doubt it.
I'm Phoebe of the Hoenn Elite Four.
Our fight against Phoebe begins with Dorothy landing a critical hit Moonblast that also gets a special defense drop. Dusclops goes for Confuse Ray, but Doro's held Person Berry cures the confusion in an instant. Dusclops uses Protect to block what would be the finishing blow, but that's exactly why I led Doro in the first place, because she can use Encore the following turn to force Dusclops into spamming Protect over and over again. With Dusclops trapped in Protect Purgatory, Beatrix could freely switch in and use Swords Dance once before Dusclops finally breaks free of Encore. But by then, it's already too late. Beatrix had +2 attack and card through Dusclops, Mismagius, Dusknoir, and Bayonet with 1 Night Slash each. And although Frostlass gets the jump on us, Ice Beam isn't enough to stop Beatrix from putting the ghost to rest and securing the sweep. Speaking of sweep, Glacia takes from her co-worker Sydney and ultimately gets decimated by Maki. 5 close combats, 5 one-hit KOs, and an easy dub. Unlike the previous 3 pushovers, however, Drake poses much more of a threat. You wouldn't think that from how the battle begins, as Maki one-taps Kingdra with Play Rough. However, Drake brings in his Steelix, and with Maki locked into a Fairy-type move due to Choice Scarf, we gotta switch out. Mario takes the field as Steelix sets up with Iron Defense, which honestly is great for us. After a fake out, because why not, Mario can catch a wave and crash it into Steelix. The snake gets drowned, so Drake throws out his Salamence next, whose Dragon Claw gets nullified by Maki on the switch-in. Though Salamence does outspeed and crits us with Flamethrower, no burn means Maki can send the dragon back to its Pokeball. In comes Flygon, who actually outspeeds Maki, so that's why we gotta switch to Herta on what I assume to be Earthquake, and my prediction turns out to be correct. Fortunately, Herta wins this speed check, meaning a single Dragon Claw is all that is needed to remind Flygon why Mence received the Mega Evolution in Gen 6 instead. Also, Maki leveled up from this and learned Wicked Blow, the signature move of Urshifu Single Strike. All that remains for Drake is his Altaria, who, like every damn Altaria before it, is a filthy Dragon Dance spammer. That is why I switched to Dorothy on Dragon Dance number 1 and punished Dragon Dance number 2 with Encore. Now that Altaria is busy busting a move, we can finally unleash Belfast. But Altaria isn't a Dragon Flying type in Emerald Seaglass, it's Dragon Fairy type, which means Icicle Spear is only 2 times effective instead of 4 times effective. In other words, a kill isn't guaranteed here without setup, and I really don't want to click Shell Smash here in case Altaria's Encore ends, cause it'll outspeed Belfast and crack her open for dinner. This means Belfast has to pull the trigger now, and if she can't finish off Altaria here, Encore could end and we could have just put ourselves into a terrible situation. But that doesn't happen because Belfast gets all 5 hits of Icy Spear to end this battle for good, which means there's only one obstacle left, the Pokemon League champion Wallace, who stands between us and the end of this Wishing Well Nuzlocke. I'm not too worried though, given our team's track record of tearing up the Hoenn region in its entirety. Watch out, here it comes! Wallace's Wailord opens the final fight with Rain Dance, which Dorothy punishes with Encore. I prepare to switch into Beatrix expecting an easy setup opportunity, but in a rare display of competent battling, Wallace switches as well. It's now suddenly Beatrix versus Tentacruel, but I decide to keep our Cake Scavenger out to set up Swords Dance anyways. Tentacruel punishes this move with Toxic, and now I kinda wish I went with Toxic Boost instead of Sharpness. Oh well, one Swords Dance is all that is needed to push Beatrix's Slash into one-hit KO territory. Not just against Tentacruel, but Milotic as well, which is somewhat surprising. Gyarados roars into battle to halt our offensive momentum, but the rain stops as well, meaning Herta can switch in on a much weaker Surf than initially anticipated. One Thunderfang later, Gyarados is down for the count. Wallace chooses to bring Wailord back in, but I decide to keep Herta in anyway since Thunderfang should be able to finish the job. Uh-oh. Oh, never mind, crisis averted. With Wailord down, Wallace brings in his Wish Cache. That looks like a job for Mario, who shrugs off a Hyper Beam and proceeds to bury Wish Cache 10 feet under. That sets up the final leg of this battle, Ludicolo v Ludicolo, Mirror B's perfect vision. Giga Drains, dance moves, and a lot of culture is exchanged for 4 consecutive turns, but this merry arrangement can't last forever, as a critical hit from Wallace's Ludicolo means Mario has to bow out for someone else to take the final shot. That someone else will be Herta, who laughs in the face of Giga Drain and hits back with one final decisive Dragon Claw to seal the deal. We've officially managed to beat Emerald Seaglass using only Pokemon obtained from the Wishing Well. Speaking of which, we ought to go say our thanks to the one who made this entire run possible. Huh, I guess you could say the well has run dry. Oh, thank you. It's been an honor. I'd like to thank every one of you for coming out, and please drive home safe. Wait. I have something important to announce. We have memberships now. Participate in member-only polls, get more detailed updates on upcoming videos, unlock over 1 emote, all for the price of a junior chicken, depending on your country. You may also be interested in the second membership tier. It's the same as the previous tier, but you give me $5 instead. For now, I plan to include additional benefits in the future. Membership proceeds will go towards growing the channel and making more high-quality videos for you all to enjoy. Thanks, and I hope you consider becoming a channel member today. Now, how do I end this video a second time? Always keep gambling.